Okay, so let's finish this up. So I ended the stream last time because I ran into an issue where the coloring wasn't working and I wasn't sure what I was doing. And it turns out that I needed to change the parent. So, whereas what I said is true, you can use the parent relationship to flow down um, uh, different things. It doesn't always work like that. Um, so uh, it was best to use the preset material. So what I ended up doing is the only thing that I changed was that I went down to my parent material and instead of parenting, say, this custom jacket material instance off of the jacket material instance from the game, I set it back to the a base preset. And then for this one, it's the same thing. I did that, and this one I used a different one. I used the Mask TLT, which is so Mask is allows it to have like the cutout sections in it for like the OBD, as you can see here, and then the little T that's listed is for two-sided. In Tekken 7, it was TS. In Tekken 8, it's T. So we've got that set up. Now, at the moment, I don't have a full understanding of the tech to allow for colorable physics enabled materials. So I don't do that. At some point, I will learn it, um, but I don't know it now. So if I want to make the jacket have physics, it's kind of where I was getting to also in the last stream. I have to make some changes, and those changes are going to be to basically to the material, right? So let's go back into here. So I had created a proxy mesh, and I think I already weighted it. Let me get back out of edit mode. I think I have that one. Okay. So I think it's weighted. Yeah, so it's got the proper weights, already transferred those. It doesn't have a material on it. It does need to have a material. So I'm going to use a cow mesh material, but I'm going to make it unique so that it's own because if I have a cow mesh here and then a cow mesh somewhere else or whatever, then uh, it will it will cause issues. And then what I'm going to do also is I think I'm going to add a proxy for the straps as well. But I'm going to rename this one. So use this. This is the unique. It makes a material unique or an item unique or an asset unique, whatever. And I'm going to call this one proxy. And I don't need to have anything else to it. It's going to end up being invisible. What I can do is I can just turn on like use nodes and turn the alpha off. And then I don't have to see it. But I'm just turn it down a little bit just for like that, whatever. So what I want to do is I want to add uh, the straps here. So I'm just going to create a mesh, rotate it up, make it smaller, and start to position it where it needs to go. Because this is a relatively simple setup, I'm going to turn on the magnet tool, and I'll set it to face, go into edit mode, and I'm going to grab these points, grab the vertex, and I want to kind of put them on here. If I hit G, it will snap them to stuff, right? So I'm just going to get it generally where it's supposed to be on there, like that, right? There we go. So we got that on there. Now I'm going to turn the snapping tool off, and I'm going to turn normal on, and that's not going to really help me out too much. I'll turn that back. Basically, I just want to make this a little bit bigger, still keep it in line if I can. Like I said before, it's a good idea to make sure it is larger than the item that you want. Just moving it around. And you can make it as exact or not as you want. It's up to you. But I'm just trying to make sure it's in line. Now, I don't know if it's the same on both sides. Actually, it's not, so it's whatever. So I'm going to just duplicate this, bring this over here, and kind of set it up the same way. So let's turn this back on for a second. Put on there. Okay, cool. So let's just make it a little bit bigger. Then I'll probably go in. I might go in it. Well, actually, that's pretty solid. All right, cool. So I'm going to keep this pretty basic. I'm just going to add a couple of loop cuts to that one and a couple of loop cuts to this one as well. And then I like to add a little bit more at the top connection. Oh, well, we can Control Z. I don't know why that happened. Okay, wait. So that, add two here. All right. Now I also need to set up uh, the material so that I'm using this new jacket physics material on these two parts as well. And actually, yeah, sometimes depending on it, I'll have them as separate, but I think this time around I'm going to uh, put all the jacket physics on the same one. All right, so I'm gonna hit L for this, which looks like it covers most of it. Let me get that. Boom, boom, and boom. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit H to hide it, make sure I got all the pieces. I did, and I'm gonna go ahead and assign that to that. So now when I select that, I'm gonna get this and this. Let's go back into here, and I'm gonna grab these, and I'm gonna join them to this. Join. I'm going to go ahead and delete this empty material. So now they all have the same material. And I'm going to go ahead and throw the weights back onto it. Let's transfer weights. Face, name, place. We're good to go. All right. And actually, I think I'm going to tweak this one a little bit. So going here, sculpt mode. And because they're not exactly the same on both sides for whatever reason, I'm going to go ahead and turn off mirror. Let's pull this one in a little bit closer. And I'm keeping this one out a bit because it might cause me, I don't know how it's going to interact with this this part here. But I'm not going to put a lot of physics in this or a lot of paint up here in this area. So we should be good. Now, I oftentimes I just paint my stuff um, in Unreal Engine, but this time I'm going to go ahead and add some vertex paints to these vertex paint, and I'm going to paint in here. It doesn't show up in that section, so we'll go here. Usually I just make it all black initially. There we go. And then I'm going to use red. And I'm just going to make a small area red here. Red here. Then for the back part, just going to do it like that area. And then this part, I want it to start up a little bit higher. So I'm just going to go probably to like, not that high. We're going to go through the bottom. Let's make sure the bottom's all done. And then I'm going to go up the side here. Now I'm going to smooth it out a bit once I get it. Once I get it in game. But this just gives me a general starting point for it. We'll do it like that too, I guess. All right, cool. All right, nice. So now that I've got this, we need to go ahead and do a new setup. I'm going to go ahead and I do not have to join this. I'm just call this jacket proxy. I don't have to join this to anything. Um, I've got a UV map here already. 1 second, I got a phone call. All right, I'm back. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this updated model in. Whenever I make a big change to a model, I try to make sure the names are a little bit different, at least when I export them. So I'm going to just grab all these, make sure they're parented correctly. All right, and I'll make sure all stuff is here. And then also I like to check to see if all my faces are good. These ones are facing outwards. I'm going to go ahead and just reverse these real quick. So to do that, I'm just going to select them. If I hit Alt N, I can go ahead and flip normals so they're like that. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and export it. We'll go ahead and set the preset. I'm not sure if it's already set. And we'll use this one, but I'll call this one physics. All right, export. All right, go ahead and clear the parent. Grab this one, parent it. There we go. Export X. Keep the same name, but switch it to PRP. All right, cool. So now I can go back into here, and I can change this up a little bit. So I'm gonna change the folder, and I'm gonna call this one color. I'll just call it colorable. Throw that in there. Oh, and another thing, which I didn't get into, is um, I whenever I do common stuff with physics, I do not do them as PRPs. I just have had, or I don't use them. Yeah, I use them as a unique only. So I'll show you how I go about doing that real quick. So I'm going to go to clear the parent, and I'm going to clear this parent as well, because I don't need this. So what I do is I'll take the mesh, and I'll use the shape keys to get this all set up. And since everything is split up pretty well, everything's using the same UVs, I'm pretty sure. Yep. And actually, I'm gonna actually set a UV map because there's not like a definitive one here. Or actually, I can just, they did create one, but let's go ahead and pack it. There we go. But I'm going to join everything together so that everything is joined to this jacket. Make sure it's to the jacket. There we go. Join. Okay, cool. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab this base mesh that I have here. Oh my goodness, I'm hit delete. I set this to append because for whatever reason it likes to link stuff, and I don't know why, but whatever. But so let's go ahead and do this. Set this to 0, and I have to go into the project and change the default back to common, but right now it's set to, I think it has Nina's is on, so we're going to turn that off. And what I'm going to do now is create a surface deformer. So I'll go to deform, surface deform, and I'm going to select this new mesh. I'm going to bind it. Go. And now, whenever I change the shape keys for this one, then this all will change. So if I go into here and I pick a shape key like this one, you see that as she gets bigger for Nina, everything moves, right? And that's what we want. Since I'm using Kunimitsu, gotta find Kunimitsu's one, just somewhere. Just Kuni, there we go. Turn Kunimitsu's on. You see that it drops down to Kunimitsu size. And we should be good to go. All the weights and stuff are still there. It all works just fine. But it's now Kunimitsu size. So I'm gonna hit Shift D to copy that. I'm going to, wait, I copied too many. I just want to copy this. I'm going to call this one key. Hide it for now. I'll grab this. I'm going to hit Shift D. So now I have a new one. And I'm going to call this one demo mod KR. Or we'll say Kuni. We'll say MS. I'll call it unique AI. And then I'll say KR for Kuni and then MSL, right? All right, so now I need to apply the shape keys. Oh wait, do I have the shape keys? Okay, I don't need to apply the shape keys. I need to apply the modifier. All right, so we'll go ahead and apply the modifier. And now that this will remain in this size. If I go back to this and I turn the modifier off, you'll see that it goes back to where it normally was, which is what I want, right? I'm going to change the names of this one so I remember what they are to common. All right, cool. So this is what I'm going to bring into the game. Now also, what I like to do is make sure that my collisions are relevant. Okay, so what I mean by relevant is if I just use the base body or capsules, I can use capsules and kind of like figure out where I want things to like not hit. I'm not a big fan of doing that, so I'm not going to. But I am also a fan of like things not bumping into other stuff. Now for this model itself, it's not a big deal because she's wearing skin tight pants. So against her body and she doesn't have anything on her body, right? So for this one, it's not going to cause me too many issues just using a base mesh as my as the basis for my physics asset. But just to keep things consistent, that's what I'll do. So what I normally will do is I'll grab all the pieces that are um, that either have physics or are a proxy, and I hide those. Hold up, I need to bring the whole body back. Okay, let's do it again. So actually, we'll grab all the physics, and I can select grab all the proxy. I can hide that. All right, so then we just got this body like this, and then I'll Shift D and separate that selection. So now I have this body that's the full one, and then this one, which I'll use as my physics piece. Usually then I'll just go into here and just yeet all of the materials because I don't need any real materials on here, and I'll just use a generic material on it. All right. The other thing that I need to use is a actual unique character rig. So I can't use the common setup like these full body MSL PRPs. I need to use one that's unique to whatever character I'm using. In this case, it's Kunimitsu, and I already have her skeleton here. Um, at some point, I'm going to grab all of them and put them here. I think the skeletons are also in Umins as well. Um, I'd have to double check that. But because I know this one works, I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to hit 0. So it's there. And now I'm going to bring these pieces out that I'll be using. So it's going to be this one, which I'll call is that a capital L? Oh, I'll call this one ref, and this one is going to be this. So okay, so I want all of these parented to this parent armature D4. All right, cool. But I do not want to export them all together. So I'm going to hide the reference one and export this. Export X. Make sure it's like that. And I'm just going to use that one that I already created. Just go over it. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with this one. File, export, FBX. We use the same name, but I'll call this one like PA or whatever. Okay, cool. All right, so now that those are exported, we need to get them into here. So I'm going to make a new folder. We'll call this one uh, simulated, whatever. I don't know if that's how you spell it. We'll go ahead and import those. And because these are both using MSL, I get to use, I can just hit MSL here, and then I can say import all. All right, so here we go. So we have our generic material thing here, and I still have materials on this one, which I don't like. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this real quick. And I'm going to go, and this one, all right, I think I did something wrong. Hopefully it's not too wrong. Okay. All right, so for whatever reason, let me see something. Let me do that again real quick. This one is right, my PA. It's just all gray. Let me grab this one, yeah. Okay. All right, there's nothing really wrong with this one. The reason why some of this stuff isn't matching up right is because um, it's it's using the other material and not the ones that I had. So for like spats, I want to switch this one to INST. So it should update. It doesn't want to update because of these errors right here. So what do I want to do? I'm just going to leave it as it is. Um, I have to go in and change the master material to make it work a little bit better, but this should still come out looking the right way. So this is parts where I wanted to focus on, but I need to do one more thing. So I have, um, let's see, let's get to this mesh here. And okay, what is this? Let's hide that. Okay, so I've got this shader here, with all the colors and stuff on it, and I need to make some adjustments. Um, I need to make some adjustments so that I can bake out a proper piece. So to do that, I want to take I have to figure out what colors I want things to be. So if I want to keep this stuff the same color here, I won't be able to color it. So, I have to deal with that. So if I want to make any changes to color, now's the time to do it. So let's go ahead and see which color is what. I want to make this like a dark color. Okay, so we'll do that. And I'm going to change this one to jacket for a second. You kind of see what it looks like. These buttons here, maybe that's this one. There we go. So I want to make these, I will make these like gray or something. All right. I'm going to keep the inside red because I kind of like that. Um, this, pretty much make them white. All right. Okay. So this jacket piece right here, all this, I want to bake a material for it. Um, so I can reuse the normal maps. I should, but I can't use the RMA. The RMA is different. Um, and I want to bake the this texture here. So I could show you guys how to do an old school bake, but I'm not going to. Um, I'm going to be using my tool to bake these out. And the reason I'm using my tool to bake these out is because it's easier. All right, so to do that, I'm going to create a new mesh here. Just flip it so you can see it. And I'm going to load this material to it. So it's jacket, whatever. So there's the jacket material loaded to this one. Um, yep. And now what I want to do is go to my little tools over here. We've got a texture baker. I'm not going to create an AO for this one. I'm going to use the AO that I'm building into it. Let's see. I don't think any other settings checked. Okay. All right, so I'm not using this one to bake it. I'm going to use my batch making. So I can just choose what type of stuff that I want. So I want this MRA, and I'm going to use this PC. Now, when I'm using the textures that use color, or sorry, when I use the material instances that are enabled for physics, they only have 4 slots for textures. So you have like a base color, an MRA, which is just the R and the M are reversed, and the uh, the normal map. But I already have a normal map, so I don't need to make a new one. So we're going to just do that. I'm going to set the uh, texture size. I'm just going to keep it at 2K. Um, I'm just going to save. There we go. So let's go ahead and bake these. With this tool, you just set the bake folder you want it to go to. I usually like to create one, just textures, and then you bake it. Now, you won't be able to really do anything while it's baking. Um, so if you want to see the progress of the bake, typically what I'll do is I'll go in and uh, I'll find whatever I made it. It's in trash. Textures, right? And I'll wait for them to just show up. There we go. So I baked it. We're good to go. If I wanted to see what this looks like, I don't know why these switched, to be honest. Um, let's see. Okay, so that's probably because this one is going through all this stuff. I just click it on there. Oh wait, hold Control Z. I'm going to now clear these nodes up. There we go. Yep, so I cleared them so that the extra nodes aren't there. Like it will set everything up for us, but then you can clear it when it's done. All right, so if I want to see and make sure that it worked, I can go to wherever I baked it, and I can like just plug it in. You're like, okay, cool. Look, it looks like it worked. I want to see the MR. Oops, not that. I can see that's what the MRA will look like on it. And the thing that I'm looking at is just that everything matches up. That's going to be the key thing. All right, so I can, let's call this one bake. And I'm going to hide it. I don't need it anymore. But I do need to uh, redo these ones. Why is this? Whatever. Should be fine. Oh, what I need to do. Okay, no, I'm still good. Actually, what do I want to do? Now we're still good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and export this, which is the MSL one. And I don't need to do anything with the PA one because I don't have any textures or anything on that one. All right, cool. So I should be able to just re-import this one. Oh wait, I want to do one thing first. Um, I changed this to be something different, so I need to make sure I change it back. Okay, there we go. Because if I don't, then it can mess up like the order of the materials when I bring it back in for whatever reason. It's annoying. Fix. Okay, so now I should be able to re-import the base mesh, and it should be fine. I'm going to leave the spats the same, essentially. I'm going to go into the jacket material now. So open. There it is. And now I need to change this. So, and actually, I don't want to change it because I want to keep it in case I want to use it again. What I'm going to do is go to colorable, not colorable there, go to my materials for the jacket, and I'm going to duplicate it and call this one um, jacket 2. No, mess up. All right. I'm going to change the parent for this one. Parent, oh, not parent, sorry. To like CF EMI, I think is what it is. CF something. Okay, base EMI CF. All right. And you'll need to turn these on. And you'll want to make sure that they're set to 1 and 1 and 0 and 0. And then we'll load the new textures. So I don't have the new textures in this project yet, so I need to grab them. So let's go ahead and import, grab textures. I'll grab these two. I probably should have named them differently, but whatever. Grab this, throw this here. I'll grab this one, throw it here. MRA, and then the normal map for the jacket is right here, so we'll throw that there. Okay, cool. Save. I also need to make sure I have one for the physics section, so I'm going to duplicate this one and just call this one jacket 2 physics. There we go. All right, so let's go into here. And now I'm going to need to redo this jacket. And set the materials up, right? So if I go to here, be like jacket, and I'll apply that one to this one. And physics jacket will apply to this one. This is the proxies. We'll get that into just a second. Now when I look in here, there we go. So I've got this black jacket with the red inside and the like gray buttons. All right. So now it's time to, of course, save everything. Make sure it's all save all. Let's get some physics started real quick. Physics are pretty simple. Usually, oh, actually, before I set up the physics, let's set up the actual physics asset. All right, so I'm gonna right click on it, go to create, and I'm gonna keep this pretty basic. So I'm just gonna create, and we're gonna use 20 in capsules. So we get these capsule bodies, right? And you want to kind of think about like what you're actually gonna need. So this is a jacket, so I don't need this middle piece. That does not gonna do me anything any good. I'm not gonna need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. And I don't even really need the legs either, so I can get rid of the legs. As for the hands, we don't really need hands. We are going to need this forearm, but these arm capsules don't really exist for weights, and I like to keep things to the weighted stuff. Um, that's just the way I do it. So I'm going to delete those also. Delete. Cool. And then I like to use single convex. So I'll switch this to single convex. I'm gonna switch this to about 32, and this is just the amount of like detail that'll be on these once they're created. I'll select them and then just hit regenerate. And now we've got this one and this one. Right. And it matches the body pretty well. I might up it to 64. You'll see that the higher the number, the more conformity it will be. But we have certain, we're going to need a little bit more. So I want the spine 1 bone. So I'm going to go in here to show all bones. I'm going to look for spine 1. Where you at? There you are. And I'm going to add that body. Go. And for the lower arm, which is the one I really need to focus on, I need to find that. So lower arm. And I'm not sure what the weight is supposed to be. So I'm going to go back into here real quick. And I want to look and see what the weights are. So weights. So let's see, it's lower arm being used. Sort of is. I don't need any of the PRPs. I just need the, maybe it's forearm. Okay, so it's forearm twist. Okay, so I'm gonna bring the twist muscles in here. So forearm, and I'm gonna grab twist A, B, C, A, B, and C. There we go. So I'll use these for that. I also need boob stuff, so we'll go to bust, and I think both of these work, but I'm not sure. Okay, so looks like one of them doesn't. Which one doesn't work? Bones. Okay, so bust tip is the one that I want. All right, cool. So there's my physics asset. These are going to be what my claw simulation is going to bounce against. So I'll go ahead and save that. So now I want to go into, so now this PA is pretty much done for, but I say keep it around because it's not going to really hurt anything. But now it's time to set this all up. So I'm going to go ahead and select this physics asset piece, and I can isolate it by itself. You'll see that we have all the pieces. Click on it, select your collision. So right click, create, you can call it proxy or whatever you want, or keep it default named, assign physics, hit create. All right, cool. Every time I do something in this section, I usually save it because sometimes my Unreal Engine will just reset itself real quick, and it's annoying, but doesn't really hurt anything. Okay, so now that I have this, the physics are set, I'm going to go ahead and apply the actual material, which will be cow mesh. And I already built a fake cow mesh to use, so that way it disappears. I don't know if it's included in the meshes or the material packages for Umans or not, but they're really easy to make. Anybody who wants to know how to make one, you can hit me up. But now they're invisible. The thing about it is that if something is invisible, like you can't see it, you also can't select it. Like I can't even select it in here. Like I can isolate it. I can't highlight it because there's nothing there. Can't see it. But I digress. So now that we have this mesh here, I can go and select activate cloth paint, and you'll see that it shows up, right? But before we do that, I'm going to right click on the cloth area that I want to have physics. And so in this case, it's jacket to physics. And I can isolate it if I want to, just so it's just by itself. And I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to apply the clothing data. And this is where it's hit or miss whether my system resets itself or not. So watch it for a second. If it works, then it works. All right, so I've got the error. I'll just send restart, and it'll bring my stuff right back up. Okay, so I'll need to open that again. So I'll just go into this one. I'll take a second for it to load all the stuff up again. Go. And let's go ahead and isolate it just so it's by itself. And then we'll go ahead and apply the clothing. And there you go. It applied just fine. So once that's done, I save it because I don't want to have to go do that again. One thing to note is that once you create your simulated proxy stuff, once you do that, the game saves it. So if I go back into Blender and I want to change that proxy, maybe I want to make it more dense or less dense or change the shape of it or something like that, I need to create a new proxy, a new simulation proxy like I just did. If I don't, then the game is just going to use the one I made in the first place. But I don't want to go too far off on a tangent. Let's go ahead and add these physics pretty quickly. So I'm going to go to Activate Cloth Paint. I'm going to click on this so that it's active. You can see which one I'm working with. And I'm going to use that information I put in the vertexes, right? So now I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to say copy vertex color. And I'm just going to start with something relatively small. Each of these, each number is a centimeter, so to speak. So if I use like 1, it should be like 1 centimeter of movement that it's allowed to have. So if I deactivate it, you'll see if I were to move it around, you'll see it doesn't really move a lot, right? But I also want to go into here. Another thing that happened is this top part, it it shouldn't be black. You want the parts, because what'll happen is it'll fall off of your mesh because it needs to be attached to something. So if I go back into here and we go back and I stop the thing, you'll see that like, look, it fell down, right? Because it's not attached to anything. There's no anchor point. Everything moves barely or whatever, but there's no anchor point. So let's go ahead and fix that. So to fix that, you'll go into your cloth painting section, go to brush, set your value to 0. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. We'll make it like 5. And then you want to like paint those off. I'm going to go back to isolating this just so I can see it clearer. And you can decide. All you need is the very top one to not be attached to something. So because I often have to do touch-ups like this, I don't really use the vertex paint thing that much, but I know it's in a lot of guides that are out there, so I just want to show it to you in case you decide to use it yourself. What I normally do is this. I'm just resetting it right now, so copy. I just keep it pink, and then I just paint my stuff on. So in this case, let's say I want, I don't know, 20 to be my weights down here. I'll paint those down bottom. So there for this, I'll keep it at 20 for that as well. And usually I just do like the tips, because then I'll go in and smooth it out. I'll use between 0.5 and 1 for the smoothing power, and I'm just going to smooth that out a bit. So when I smooth this one, I over smoothed it. So now I need to paint some of that stuff back in. Right. But we still want it to connect. If I go back out of here, turn that off. See that now we got some movement and my stuff is still connected at the top. Right. And I might want to add some of the leg stuff in there because you can see how it's it's bending, it's going through and clipping the leg right there. So I can go ahead and update my physics asset as well. But before I do that, I'm just gonna clean up the physics themselves, kind of see how they're working. So that's working pretty good. Um, Usually I'll have my simulation set to about 4 or 6 for both of those. That just makes the cloth behave a lot closer to the way that you set it up and looks a little bit more real. Let's go to the actual stuff here. So mass properties, density, if you hover over this part, it'll show you kind of like what the suggested values are. I just go to, this is like a leather coat, so I'm just going to go to 1. I want it as stiff as possible. Uh, for material properties, you got bending options. I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to move it up to 1. Doesn't really need to bend a lot. Just straps. This one is a little bit funky in its setup, so I probably need to see if that helps. No, this one is just, it's trying to calculate where and how the stuff works. So it's like collapsing a little bit on itself, which is annoying. This one's looking great over here. So we'll see. I might make some changes to that in the future. Let's see. This hip area isn't really moving a lot. I do want to make it, give it a little bit more room. So I'm going to here and I'm going to change value of my brush and I'll make this, I'll just make it 35. So, and then I'm going to put a little bit right here. And then I like to just blend it. That's my biggest thing. Want the most movement at the bottom, but I don't need a lot of movement. But I still have other things to affect that movement. And then I'm just going to use this gradient to kind of smooth it out. So when it does move, it doesn't look too choppy. So let's see how that looks. There we go. So now we've got this moving around and it's looking pretty good. The back here of the belts could be better, but I think it serves its purpose. Collision properties, I usually keep, if I can keep them at 1, I do. I'll put it at like 1.2. That just pushes them out a little bit further from whatever collisions I'm using. Kind of help keep them out. Uh, let's see, environmental. So this is your damping. If I put it at something like 5, which is ridiculously much, you'll see that like it takes some time to move. The higher this, well, if I put it like regular 5, the higher, see it doesn't really move very fast. It affects the amount of time it takes for something to move around. And although that's not necessarily a bad speed, I think it's way too much. And I'm gonna turn, oh, and then personally, I always turn my friction to 0. Okay, so it only goes between 1 and I think 0. So I'll set this like 0.5. I think that looks fine. Or jagged. Drag and lift is how the wind affects it. So if I go in and turn on wind at say like I think 145 or 150 is the highest it goes. If I just get this in the game right now, that's what it's gonna look like. Um, so I usually set this at 0.001 and then 0.0001 as well. Now it's not really moving that much. Now I can play around with what I want. So maybe I want more lift. Let's do it like that. So there we go. So now it's opening, but it's not like flapping all crazy. And if I rotate the model, you can see kind of how it would blow on it. Different wind speeds and whatnot. I think this one is actually pretty good. I kind of like it like that. Gravity scale, I can make it heavier, like super heavy right now, so it's not going to get pulled up by the wind nearly as much. Make it like -1, and now it's, even when there's no wind, it's going to be trying to like float up. But we can just keep it at 1, or we'll say 2. It doesn't need to really be going up there all crazy. And then I like to flip my stuff around as much as possible to see if I can get it caught in something. Like, can I get it caught in the hip? Can I get it caught in the leg? Something like that. And then I'll use the up and down as well to kind of see if it breaks, whatever. So that's for that. And then I'm not gonna, these, for this project, I don't really need to mess with these. You can keep these at default in most cases. If you got like really long stuff, then I would suggest actually increasing the velocity scale, and it kind of allows the game to pull stuff with it. I did like a really long ribbon once, and it needed to wrap around the body while the character was spinning, and then of course stay close to the body. And I was having the hardest time trying to make it look real. But setting these all up to 1 and then setting it to 2 is good. But if you want to know what these are about, this is like how much of the energy spent is being applied. So let's say this is your X, so this is left and right. Y is front and back. Z is up and down, and then angular is your rotation. So if I don't want any rotation to really be a factor, the other stuff is still going to move, but not nearly as much. I pull it all the way up, you can see that it spins a lot more with the character. But I'm just going to keep it default for right now. Animation stiffness, this is the difference between uh, the weights that you have set up on your mesh and the simulation process, right? So I think it's 1 to 0. So if it's at 1, then it's not using any simulation at all. If you're using 0.5, then it's using some simulation and some of the weights, but you'll get this really like stiff look. So I usually try to keep it pretty low, if at all, like 0.2, and that might just help keep things from going too crazy when you're moving around. I'll do it like 0.1. That should be fine. So that's pretty much the settings for this. This allows you, I did a little bit of research on this one, and I can't really find a way to implement it the right way, so I don't really mess with it. But yeah. Okay, so now with that generally done, I want to go back into here and I want to fix this. Um, so I'm going to add a couple more bones. So I'm going to show all bones, and I'm going to grab the thigh bones, and I'm looking for the thigh twist bones. So A, B, and C for both sides. Okay, but I don't want them as capsules. I want them as single convex. So I'll switch it to single convex and just hit regenerate. Go. And I'm going to up this to 64. And you'll see that it's smoother. Um, and then these little gaps right here, those are pelvis side muscles, I believe. So you can use pelvis side to get those. And then that should be pretty good. Let's save. What was this? All right, I'm going to save all. And I'm going to go into here and I'm going to try to see if, yeah, because I changed the physics, it threw a tantrum and quit on me. So ideally, you want to get your physics done the right way the first time so you don't have to do this, but good. It might just be the power of my PC and what I'm running at the same time as well. Capsules don't really reset like that, from my experience. The convex ones do usually cause me that issue. So I'm just going to go back into here. What is this? Okay, now I'm going to go back into here and make sure they're all there. Yep, good. And then I'm going to go here. Oh my goodness, why is it doing that? Oh, so if you're going to make a major change, it's probably also good to turn off the physics ahead of time. And by turn off the physics, I mean like unassociate the physics asset with your SK asset. All right, let's see if it'll let me open it or it's going to cost me. All right, there we go. Okay, so now I can just click on the proxy area and I'm just going to refresh it. And, right. And now let's see, when I move this stuff around, let's rotate. There we go. You see that it's not clipping as much because now I have bones back there to work with. I think if I grab one of the thigh binds or something like that, you'll see that you can see that when it moves up, like it's bouncing off of that. You kind of see what should happen. Like it should push it out of the way versus folding in on itself. If it was just weights, it would just fold in on itself. And I think I can demo that real quick. So if I go into animation properties, set this to 1, you see when you move it up, it just folds in on itself. In some cases, that's fine, but I don't want that. I want it to move out of the way, not like the leg to do its thing. Right? Cool. Okay. So let's just reset this. And that should be pretty much it. Um, or not everything. But so we've updated the material for this one and this one. Now, if I want to just make this back to default, which is the black one, I can do that as well. So I can go back to spats and we'll just keep it like this. I don't think I have anything set up in here. I can turn all of this stuff off if I want to. I don't need it on. Blah, blah, who cares? And I believe this is my referenced one, right? So this is, yep, is reference. You can see that it's in the location where it's supposed to be. These ones are in my custom area. So it's all good. Save that. All right. Now I also need to tell my blueprints to pick the right stuff. Um, let's see. So I'm going to go in here to the BI, and I could actually, here, we're going to do this. I'm going to duplicate it, call this one physics, and this one, I just need to make sure is using this MSL, and I'm going to get rid of the PRP. That's it. Everything else will remain the same. Uh, for the IP or for the CI, so initially in the first round we made this one, which is just an empty CI. Since I'm not coloring anything, I could essentially do the same thing for, like, this is my colorable one, right? But since I'm not going to be coloring this new one, then I'm just going to make the new IP to use this old CI. So I'm going to go into the IP and I'm going to just update these files. All right, cool. So I don't want to change the slot. I'm not going to have two different mods on here, but we're just going to keep it as it is. I just want to check to see. So everything that's in these folders is already going to be in my mod, so I'm good to go there. We should be solid. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and cook it up, see how it goes. All right, so this should take about 5 or 6 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab a quick smoke and get back. And then I think I might be jumping on Hollow's podcast at some point soon, so I need to figure out how to do that, but we shall see.